From the headless camel to the zombie fish, then the Sasquatch to the scary and famed dogman. Today's video promises to be one to thrill, and you'll want to stay until the very end, especially if you want to see the resurrection of the zombie fish. We recommend you watch these videos in the highest quality available to you if you want to see every detail in them. Picture this: you're peacefully eating your breakfast, only to be snatched away and eaten as someone else's breakfast. It may sound humorous at first, but what we see in this video is no laughing matter. 3 innocent birds were happily enjoying their meal when 2 of them were suddenly taken from the bird feeder they were perched on. Let's take a good look at it again. Did you see that? A raptor dives down and grabs 2 birds for its breakfast. Not 1, 2. The third is lucky to have survived, but I know the bird would have taken it too if it was possible. It probably flew away. The third is lucky to have survived, but I know the bird would have taken it too if it was possible. It probably flew away, but wow, that was amazing. It's almost as though the bird was on steroids or had some unknown superpowers. You've got to have unbelievable power and accuracy to pull that off, but it did. It actually did. As beautiful as nature may seem, it still has its dark side. I'm not sure if I can ever get used to the predator and prey arrangement. Just take a look at this footage. In this riveting scene, a mother deer and her adorable little fawn are grazing and frolicking by the riverside. All seems peaceful and serene until a bobcat appears out of nowhere, hoping to make a quick and easy meal out of our unsuspecting little fawn. Fortunately for the fawn, Mama Deer was not ready to have her little one served as lunch, much less for a sneaky, conniving bobcat like the one in the video. She nearly stomps the bobcat into the ground. But the bobcat manages to slip away out of sheer luck. I'm not sure the other bobcats will let it peacefully live out this defeat. Talk about a close call. This little fawn is very lucky to have such a fearless and courageous mom like Mama Deer on his side. I hope they survived many more encounters like that. But knowing how the wild works, that might just be wishful and unrealistic thinking. Deer fall prey to almost all predators in the wild, so they are constantly on the run. With their dangerous antlers sticking out of their heads, bumping into one of them will certainly hurt, and in more serious situations end quite brutally. Imagine riding at top speed on your favorite mountain only to be hit by a deer from nowhere. This biker didn't have to. He lived it. A deer crashed into him at top speed, which sent him tumbling into a ditch. The deer, on the other hand, fell by the road. We can't tell how injured it is, but with a crash like that, we can guess pretty badly. The biker would also not go home without a scratch. I don't know, but I believe this should serve as a warning to us humans when we venture into territories that do not belong to us. As beautiful as nature is, we cannot deny that there is still some questionable things that lurk in the darkness. This footage from a trail cam captured something unexpected. As you can see, a wolf is walking by in the trail cam in the dead of night. That's nothing unusual, right? Well, then tell me why there's a dark mass with a pair of glowing eyes in the darkness moving behind the fox. What in the world is that? There's no way it's another creature like the black bear. They don't just appear and disappear like that. Some may say it's the result of operating the camera in a low-light environment, but, well, I don't believe it. Something is definitely out there. I may not be able to tell what, but I do believe it's waiting for the right time to strike. Could we really be looking at a family of Bigfoot? Many Bigfoot fanatics seem to think so, but is that really the case? This footage was sent in by one of the Bigfoot fanatics, and he believes he's captured an entire family of Bigfoot. At first glance, it looks like you're watching a group of monkeys lazing around until they stand on their 2 legs and begin to walk off into the woods. It then becomes very evident that the creatures are much taller and hairier than any known monkey species. The proportions of their arms and legs are just like ours, but they're covered head to toe in fur. Could it be Sasquatches? Bigfoot hunters everywhere are sure to be buzzing about this video, and for good reason. If this is the real deal, could there be an entire colony of these mysterious creatures hiding from human eyes? Tell us what you think. This next footage is quite odd. Unlike the other deer we've seen and will see in today's footage, this deer happens to be doing something rather odd and strange. A hunter was walking through the woods when he caught sight of the deer stiff and standing in the middle of the woods. He tried scaring it off and poking it with his arrow, but the deer did not blink. It wasn't until the man struck the antlers of the deer that the deer awoke up from whatever trance it was stuck in and fled immediately. What was that? Was that a glitch in the Matrix? The answer is no, and it had nothing to do with aliens or physical trauma either. The buck was simply scared and engaged its survival strategy known as frozen in place or freezing in place. I wanted to believe it was possessed, but apparently there is a science that disproves it. Yay, science. Now take a close look at this footage. You can see a pair of wings flapping on a green field. A deer rushes to the spot with flapping wings and suddenly attacks whatever bird that is. With no context, you start wondering, what's going on here? A few seconds after, a little rabbit runs out from that very spot and becomes evident that the deer had actually gone to save the life of the rabbit. There was actually no reason for the deer to put itself in harm's way, but it did. Could there have been an existing bond between the animals, or was it merely a function of coincidence? That's a question for the forest gods. Wolves are popular for many things, but not many know that they're actually very good at fishing. The beautiful thing about trail cameras is that they capture things that we would otherwise not see, such as this footage. I mean, look at how the wolf graciously catches his fish. He stalks the fish and at the right moment uses lightning-fast reflexes to snatch its prey from the water. And just like that, its protein needs for the day are sorted out. I don't recommend it, but for a fox, there's nothing more fun than taking a midnight stroll and climbing some trees. These two foxes look to be having the time of their lives as they happily jump onto the trunk of the tree and climb off. One of the joys of being nocturnal is the fact that nobody disturbs your alone times. Thank God for this trail cam footage, though. They make it easy to observe some of the things that we may have never seen. Love is a beautiful thing, not just for humans, but for animals as well, and these panthers know it, at least until the mating season is over. In this trail cam footage, we see a female Florida panther calling out to her partner. Men have the habit of disappearing when they're needed, and it looks like it's something that's not mutually exclusive to the human species alone. Where had a lover gone? We never found out. There's one thing we could be sure about, though. He was not cheating, as he somewhat had a monogamous arrangement with the female panther, and we confirm this in the next trail cam footage. We see the lovebirds, or rather, panthers, moving together in this shot, and the female panther is neither complaining nor nagging. Seems all is well, and the two have no qualms, which is just how couples should be. But what is that odd collar around the male panther's neck? The first thing that came to mind when I saw it was the X-Men collar that dampens the power of mutants, but thankfully this isn't one of those. Instead, it's a marvelous piece of technology that helps track the male panthers to make sure they're good and safe. Believe it or not, male panthers are at a higher risk of injury or death compared to their female partners, which is another trait they share with their counterparts in the human species. Thankfully, these collars have helped keep them alive and save the population that was on the decline. Ever heard of having a face only a mother could love? This baby bird looks like the embodiment of that phrase, but that is only because it's a hatchling and has a lot of growing up left to do. Babies don't really have the biggest stomachs, and that applies to this baby bird as well. Mama Pajaro, which is Spanish for mama bird, appears to be feeding her chick a dead lizard. As the little one carefully consumes his meal, she keeps an eye on his every move like every good mother would. Once it was time for Junior to do his business, Mama Pajaro was there in a flash to catch his waist and fly it far away from their cozy nest. Is it gross? Yes, but when it comes to responsibility, you just can't be picky. We can't have a dirty nest now, can we? Not only will that be totally unhygienic, but it would also make it easier for predators to pick up their scents. My first impression of this video was that it was disgusting and very disturbing, but on second thought, if the video is proof of anything, it's that the love for our family, especially our young ones, is not the only thing we have in common with these animals. Mama Bajara proved that hygiene is just as important to these animals as it is to us, even if it involves taking the diaper out with your mouth. If animals in the wild are this fastidious, why aren't our pets doing the same? Maybe it's time we take a cue from the birds and challenge the cleanliness games of our pets. This next footage is something else. A cameraman was filming what looked like a monkey in the woods, but things quickly took a terrifying turn. The creature, which appeared to be a monkey at first glance, suddenly spotted the cameraman and began chasing after him. The cameraman's shaky footage makes it hard to get a clear look, but one thing is for sure, this is no ordinary monkey. The creature moves with an eerie swiftness on all fours, with legs that seem almost human but not quite upright. And if the cameraman's reaction is anything to go by, it's clear that this creature is something to be feared. Could it be the famed dogman known to lurk in those woods waiting to pounce on unsuspecting prey? Could it be another Bigfoot sighting? Or could it simply be an ape encounter that has been exaggerated? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section. A deer hunter in Virginia caught footage of a little creature snooping about in the hunting areas on his trail cam. The hunter was a little spooked by the image, so he called in the Sasquatch experts to have a look at it. Yes, there is such a thing as a Sasquatch expert. The image was taken prior to the hunting season when hunters set up their trail cams to gather footage of deer within their hunting areas. The owner picked up the footage expecting something like the usual, only to see this brown bear-like creature that shares some resemblance with Bigfoot or Bigfoot-like creatures that look like bears. It's a matter of perspective, really. The dog-furred creature appears to have its back facing the camera. At first glance, it looks like a chimp or even a bear cub. But this hunter believes that it might be a Sasquatch, as others like to call it Bigfoot. The mystery deepens as even the experts scratch their heads over the strange creature caught on the Virginia hunter's trail cam. Is it a chimp, a bear cub, or could it possibly be a juvenile Bigfoot? The dog fur and odd proportions have left everyone stumped. It could also be a hybrid of these suspected animals. The hunter had never seen anything like it in all his years of tracking deer, and now he was left wondering what else might be lurking in the woods. One thing is for sure, this little creature has everyone on edge and questioning what other secrets the forest might be hiding. The next footage will leave your mind blown. Mine is still blown from it. You don't need to be a scientist to know the creature is a camel. If you couldn't name it, then probably you should visit your primary school. But if that's a camel, why does it look like it doesn't have a head? Is that even possible? How would it eat and breathe? How would it navigate its environment? To be fair, however, the headless creature seems to be moving around just fine. I mean, it could just be an edited video, but with all these recent sightings of weird things, I will still leave some space to assume that this might actually be true. You never know what creatures are lurking in the shadows waiting to be found. How far is too far? How far will a desperate mother go for her children? Well, we find the answer in this footage. No mother likes to see her children suffer, and this mama bear couldn't bear to watch her cubs hungry. Naturally, she's on the hunt for anything that can qualify as food, so she feeds them. Her cubs hide out in the tree while she's out hunting. But this is where things get unfortunate. Mama deer had also left her fawn in a space she thought was safe to go graze so she could have some milk for her fawn. Only she didn't know that would be the last time she saw her fawn. The mother bear noticed the fawn and wasted no time in going after it. Although probably weighing up to 500 pounds, she ran after the fawn, though it was nothing and easily to get hold of. She'd rather other people's kids die rather than hers. Sounds messed up, but probably what many other mothers would have done. Yes, the fawn did put up a good fight, technically a chase, but there was simply no way it was going to outrun a bear. Unlucky. But I guess that's the circle of life after all. Feeding is one of the factors that keeps animals in the wild aggressive. Irrespective of its species, every animal will, when pushed to the wall, do anything and everything possible to survive. This footage is absolute proof of that. The golden eagle isn't called the warrior of the sky for no reason, and these coyotes found out in the most practical way possible. The eagle had claimed its meal, and two coyotes thought it would be a good deal to chase it away and have it all to themselves. Like all good warriors, it stood its ground, and although outnumbered, fought the coyotes fiercely. If that doesn't intimidate you and tell you not to stay away from these majestic creatures, I simply don't know what will. When it comes to survival in the wild, predators typically have the upper hand, but there are instances, not many, but there are instances when the tables turn and the predator is at the receiving end of things, especially when it comes to mothers and their young ones. One such instance is what we see in this video. This leopard had been targeting a young wild beast among a herd, thinking it was easy prey. Leopards are quite powerful, but they're tactical too. Better to have a smaller meal with no injuries than go after the larger one with potential injuries. It had targeted the young one, but fortunately for it, Mama was close by. When the leopard launched its attack and pounced on the little one, Mama didn't hesitate to face it and give it a strong headbutt. A little something to tell it never to try that again. Females are often aggressive when it comes to their offspring and would do anything to protect them, even if it's facing death. But you and I know that it's only a matter of time until another predator goes after it and eventually consumes it. The owner of this trail cam footage believes that he actually got the footage of a dogman. He's a Sasquatch researcher who had gone in search of Bigfoot but ended up shooting something else, a dogman. The Sasquatch researcher went to a Sasquatch zone in the woods with hopes of getting a glimpse of one, but he ended up returning home disappointed. He saw nothing Bigfoot-related. His feelings of upset would, however, be short-lived when he notices something while reviewing the footage from this trip. He realizes there was a creature following him. There was a creature behind him in the bushes for the most part of the trip through the bushes, and the scary part was he never noticed. Not at any point in time did he feel he was being followed or observed, but he actually was. Zooming in on the footage, he makes out a snout hiding behind the trees a few feet away from him. Upon further examination, it was concluded that that was possibly a dogman. Now, you have to understand that these creatures are very dangerous, and this man was very lucky to have walked out of the woods alive. He might just be one of the few that have encountered this creature and lived to tell the tale. When the dead come back to life, the only explanations is zombies. Can the same be said for fish too? A man in China finds fish on the ground that's completely dry. It was so dry, it could easily break its fins off without a reaction from the fish. If that doesn't spell out dead to you, I don't know what would. But this seemingly dead fish just comes back to life once he pours water on it. Is that water the life-giving elixir we've heard about in legends and mysteries, or are we just looking at our first case of a zombie apocalypse? As much as I'd love to indulge your cravings and desires for the supernatural, I'd have to burst your bubble here. There's nothing zombified or supernatural about the footage. Instead, it's one that can be explained by science. There are species of fish that would bury themselves in the mud for days or weeks. While buried, they're almost seemingly dead, but would come alive once exposed to water, which is mostly interpreted as rain. This is what you see happening in this footage. So, nothing supernatural. It's all perfectly natural. See you in the next video.